This is Heliox, where evidence meets empathy. Independent, moderated, timely, deep, gentle, clinical, global, and community conversations about things that matter. Breathe easy. We go deep and lightly surface the big ideas.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping ourselves in for a really urgent exploration, not just of technology, but of the very economic foundations that our civilization is built on.
Yeah, this one is. It's a big one.
It is. We're pulling straight from some truly essential source material, The Last Economy, A Guide to the Age of Intelligent Economics by Emad Mostaque.
Yeah.
And this book, it isn't just some high-level prediction. It's being presented as an urgent diagnosis and a necessary blueprint for what comes next.
And it's written by someone who saw the problem coming from both sides, which is what gives it so much weight.
Exactly. Talk about a unique vantage point.
I mean, the text lays it out. First, he saw the systemic cracks forming from the inside, as a macro hedge fund manager, deep in the world of scarcity-based finance.
And then, in this massive pivot, he helps build the very engine of the new world as the founder of Stability AI.
It's a terrifying dual perspective.
Yeah.
He's basically arguing that the economic life expectancy of, the traditional human job is shrinking. And not over generations, but within this really critical window we're entering right now.
And that shrinking time frame is the core alarm bell here, isn't it? The central thesis isn't that this change is coming over the next century, giving us time to adjust.
Not at all.
It's defined by what the author calls the 1,000-day window. That order of magnitude days, not decades, is just incredibly alarming. What does that actually mean in practical terms?
So the 1,000-day window is less about a specific date on a calendar and more of an estimation of a profound historical epoch.
Okay.
Think of it like a phase transition in physics. You have a pot of water on a stove. You can turn the heat down and stop it from boiling, but once it turns to steam, the phase change is done. It's final.
You can't turn it back into water just by turning off the heat.
Exactly. The new state is locked in. And Mostaque argues that if you look at the exponential curves of AI, the capability, the cost, the adoption, we're not in some 100-year slow burn. We're in a moment measured in the order of, 1,000 days, the time it takes for this new reality to just solidify.
So it's a deadline for meaningful choice. Not apocalypse, but a point of no return.
A point of no return, that's a perfect way to put it. The singularity that's coming isn't just technological, it's socioeconomic, and it's arriving way faster than a pure AGI. Our systems of money, of work, of meaning, they're shattering under the strain right now.
The systems are more fragile than the tech.
Far more fragile. The time for denial, as the text says, has just evaporated.
And the force driving this is given a name that ironically sounds like the complete opposite of a problem. The abundance trap. What is this? This cosmic joke.
It's the ultimate paradox, isn't it? We are on the verge of the greatest triumph in human history. Liberating intelligence from our biological brains, we've engineered abundance in the one thing we value most.
Problem solving.
Problem-solving capacity. But our entire economic framework is built on scarcity. So it registers this incredible abundance as a catastrophe. That's the trap.
So our economic dashboard is basically built backwards. When the most valuable resource, intelligence, becomes almost free, the meter just goes wild and flashes panic instead of progress.
Precisely. If 1,000 highly paid consultants are instantly replaced by an AI that does better work for pennies, the economy doesn't measure the incredible value of free expertise gained by humanity.
No, it just measures the collapse of the consulting industry, the lost salaries.
That's it. Our greatest success-free, accessible, infinite intelligence becomes an extinction-level event if we don't change the underlying operating system. That's the crisis.
To really get the finality of this moment, the book gives some historical context. It talks about economic inversions. 4 times that the foundational source of value just broke and reformed the world. Let's just quickly run through the first 3.
Sure. So for millennia, the first phase was all about land dominance. For 10,000 years, if you controlled the land, you controlled the power. Pharaohs with their floodplains, Roman aristocracy with their wheat fields. Value was just measured in acres.
And society was built to keep people tied to that soil.
Right, but that system started to crack when global trade picked up. You get places like Venice, a tiny city-state with almost no farmland, realizing that controlling the flow of goods was more valuable than owning the land itself.
But the real break, the first true inversion, came with the Industrial Revolution.
Yes. Around 1780, with Watt's steam engine, value shifts again. This is the second inversion. Labor dominance. Value moves from static acres to the dynamic organization of production. Factories, systems,
The power shifts from the landed aristocrat to the industrialist.
to the person who could mobilize tens of thousands of workers. And that basically defined the next 2 centuries.
And the third inversion, capital and network dominance, is the one we've all lived through, starting around the year 2000, really. The shift from physical stuff to algorithms and organizing human attention.
And this is where capital completely dematerialized. It's all about maximum leverage with minimum physical presence. The classic example is Kodak versus Instagram.
Right. In 98, Kodak had 140,000 employees, huge factories worth about $30 billion.
Then jump to 2012. Facebook buys Instagram. Instagram had 13 employees. 13. No factories, no inventory, and it sold for $1 billion.
The value wasn't in people or machines anymore. It was in the algorithm, the network.
And that leads us directly to the fourth and final inversion, intelligence. And the book pinpoints the exact date it began, November 30th, 2022.
The day OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public.
It was the fastest adopted technology in history, but the speed isn't the point.
No, the point was the nature of what was released.
Exactly. For all of history, intelligence was scarce. It was locked in our skulls. It required food and sleep. Now, for the first time, intelligence is a form of capital. Intelligence capital. You can copy it infinitely, transfer it instantly. It improves itself.
It's not just a 10% efficiency boost. It's the annihilation of an entire economic category.
The annihilation of the price of cognitive work. Let's get into the brutal math here.
Oh, for it.
Okay, so in early 2022, a knowledge worker, say a copywriter or an entry-level analyst, earned about $36 an hour. That was the price for a unit of human cognition.
Okay.
Today, you can get superior cognitive output from an API for fractions of a cent per query. The book quotes a cost reduction of about 99.99%.
99.99%.
We've gone from $36 an hour for a human mind that needs to rest to basically zero for a superior AI mind that is tireless. The entire economy built for scarcity just cannot withstand that kind of price collapse.
And this is where the book argues that this inversion is final. With the Industrial Revolution, we pivoted from muscle to mind. But now, it says we've run out of places to pivot. It calls this the metabolic rift.
This is the critical distinction. It's why the old Luddite argument is now obsolete. For 10,000 years, all labor muscle or mind was done by metabolic engines. Humans.
We need food, shelter, rest.
Our value was tied to our biology. But AI and robotics are non-metabolic labor. They just need electricity. There's no biological burden, no salary, no sick days.
So when our hands became obsolete, we pivoted to our minds. But when our minds are outcompeted by something that doesn't need to eat or sleep, the book says there's nowhere left to pivot.
It's a deeply unsettling statement, but it's the logical conclusion. We aren't competing against a faster human anymore. We're competing against a different category of economic life.
And this brings us to the mathematics of obsolescence. The brutal math that almost no one in power wants to talk about.
Yes. The truth is, for a growing majority of cognitive tasks, the economic value of a human isn't just lower than an AI, it's negative.
Explain that. How can a human's value be negative? That's a really hard concept to wrap your head around.
In a corporate spreadsheet, it's simple. An AI has almost no overhead. A human requires a salary, benefits, office space, management, payroll taxes, legal risk. All of that is a cost.
Liability on the balance sheet.
Exactly. So if the AI provides superior output for almost zero cost, the human worker, by pure calculation, becomes an economic liability. The market is just structurally incentivized to make that switch as soon as the tech is good enough.
And we're seeing this play out already. Radiologists, for example.
A perfect tragic example, you train for 13 years, make $400,000 a year. And now AI systems can diagnose certain cancers more accurately for pennies a scan, and they never get tired. The economic incentive is just overwhelming.
Which reframes the whole Luddite argument. We think of them as being afraid of progress, but they were skilled artisans who saw their entire way of life, their identity, becoming obsolete. They were right, just early.
The book uses an even better analogy. Abbot Trithemius, in 1481, writing in praise of scribes to argue against the printing press. He said his monastery's entire purpose and income came from copying books.
And he had about 50 years before his scriptorium became a museum.
But here's the difference. The printing press only replaced the physical act of copying. It didn't replace the author's mind. AI replaces the mind itself, the analysis, the creation. We don't have 50 years.
And the so-called safe havens, the
Mm.
creatives, the caretakers,
Yeah.
those are shrinking too.
Absolutely. We have AI-generated songs topping the charts, AI therapists reporting higher patient satisfaction because they're available 24/7 and they don't judge. The frontier of what is uniquely human is collapsing.
So the honest conclusion is that we're facing an inversion with no obvious landing place, at least not within the current economic system.
And that means we have to analyze that obsolete operating system. This takes us to part 2, and what the book calls the 7 fatal lies of a dying paradigm. And the first 2 are the most important.
The ones that AI just completely shatters.
Yes. And the absolute biggest one, the lie that underpins all of neoclassical economics, is lie. #1. Scarcity is fundamental.
Every textbook starts there. Economics is the study of allocating scarce resources.
But we've arrived at post-scarcity for intelligence. One AI model can write 1 million legal briefs or design 1 million new molecules for a marginal cost approaching zero.
Which doesn't just challenge the system, it breaks the fundamental equation.
It breaks it. If the supply of your most valuable resource is infinite, its price goes to zero, and your economic model becomes meaningless. Our system processes this abundance as a catastrophe.
And that leads right into lie #2. Human labor has value. We're just so culturally trained to believe that work gives us dignity, that income equals worth.
But if AI replaces the mind itself, the scarcity premium on human thought is just gone. And the mainstream answer is always, oh, we'll just reskill people.
Train the coal miners to be coders.
Right. And the book calls that wishful thinking. It says clinging to that fiction prevents the necessary liberating conversation. It's like building lifeboats for a storm when the sea level itself is rising over our heads.
The task isn't finding a new job. It's decoupling human worth from economic production entirely.
Exactly. And you see this delusion perfectly in our primary tool for measuring success, GDP, the dashboard for insanity.
That's a strong phrase.
The text calls it criminally insane. It was invented in the 1930s to measure industrial transactions of scarce goods. It is structurally blind to what actually matters for human well-being.
And worse, because governments target it, it incentivizes just profoundly destructive behavior.
Which brings us to Exhibit D, the Planned Obsolescence Museum.
The idea that destruction registers as growth.
Every forced upgrade on your phone, every battery that dies after 2 years, each one is a victory for GDP because it forces a new transaction. Building something that lasts for 50 years is economic sabotage.
And this is the abundance paradox. When good news for humanity is bad news for the dashboard, like Wikipedia.
Think about it. Wikipedia provides trillions of dollars of value and free knowledge to the entire planet. Its contribution to GDP, negative.
Because it destroyed the encyclopedia industry. It replaced a $1,500 transaction with nothing.
The dashboard screams depression when knowledge becomes free. We are flying completely blind into the future using broken instruments.
The demolition is complete. The system is designed for the exact opposite of the reality we're entering. We need a break, and when we come back, we need to talk about the new foundation, the new physics.
Indeed. We need to reset our entire understanding of value. Thank you to everyone who has left such positive reviews on our podcast episodes. It helps to make the podcast visible to so many more people. We read them all. Back to Heliox, where evidence meets empathy.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've just finished diagnosing the old system and found it structurally incapable of handling the abundance of intelligence. So now we pivot to part 3, the new physics, the blueprint, and to build a new economy. The book says we have to start not with Adam Smith, but with the fundamental struggle of physics, the fight against entropy.
For centuries, economics just ignored the second law of thermodynamics, the fact that everything tends toward disorder. But this new science, intelligence theory, says value creation is literally the opposite of entropy. It's the creation of order.
So the question isn't why things fall apart, but why anything ordered exists at all.
Right. A star, a tree, a company. And the answer is sorting. All value creation is an act of sorting, separating the useful from the useless.
And the classic analogy for this is Maxwell's ghost.
Or Maxwell's demon, yeah. He imagined this tiny, intelligent agent guarding a door between 2 chambers of gas. It lets the fast molecules go to one side, creating heat and order, and the slow ones to the other, creating cold and order.
So that little sorter is the intelligent agent, the entrepreneur.
They don't create wealth from nothing, they sort. They see an undervalued asset or an unmet need, and they move things around to create a localized pocket of low entropy. a successful company, a breakthrough.
So the new definition of value is what?
Profit is the temporary surplus of low entropy that an intelligent agent can create. And that single principle leads you directly to a new management system for civilization, one to replace GDP. The Mind Dashboard.
Okay, the Mind Dashboard, a compass for sanity. Let's break it down. What are the 4 components?
It came from observing what allows complex systems to actually survive and thrive. Ecosystems, successful companies, resilient nations, they all maintain 4 interdependent forms of capital. If you ignore one, the whole thing becomes vulnerable.
It forces you to balance, not just maximize one thing like GDP. So it's M.
M is for material capital, the physical foundation. But it's not just stuff, it's organized matter. Clean energy grids, stable housing, infrastructure, it's the physical flow.
And the modern mistake is confusing the liquidation of that capital like cutting down a rainforest with income.
You got it, you're just depleting your M capital. Next is I for intelligence capital.
The subject of our deep dive.
The pattern library. All of our accumulated knowledge, our skills, and now our AI models. And critically, this is the only form of capital that fundamentally grows when you share it. It's non-rivalrous.
A society that hoards knowledge starves itself. Okay, N.
N is network capital. This is the social glue. Trust, relationships, social cohesion, the collective ability to cooperate. When N capital decays, everything gets more expensive and risky. Institutions fail.
And finally, D.
D is for diversity capital. This is your option portfolio. The variety of strategies, cultures, and ideas that gives you resilience against shock. The market loves efficient monoculture.
Right. One type of corn, one type of algorithm.
Because it's maximally efficient in the short term. But a civilization has a strategic interest in preventing that, in maintaining some redundancy and inefficiency for long-term survival. Diversity is the societal immune system.
And the real power is the multiplication principle. M times I times N times D equals vitality. And a 0 in any one of those categories means total system failure.
It's a non-negotiable principle. Look at the Soviet Union. They had massive M capital, a lot of I capital with their scientists.
But their N capital, their trust, was poisoned. And their D capital, diversity, was systematically eliminated.
So the multiplication by near zero in N and D doomed them to collapse. This isn't just for nations, by the way. A flourishing individual life requires balancing this portfolio too.
This new physics also helps explain why the great ideological wars of the 20th century, capitalism versus communism, were based on partial truths, the blind scholars and the elephant analogy.
Correct. It leads us to the 3 flows of economic value. The foundational error was assuming the economy was a single thing. But a mathematical theorem, the Hodge decomposition theorem, proves that any flow must break down into exactly 3 components.
So what are they?
First, you have gradient flow. This is Adam Smith. It's competitive, driven by scarcity, like water running downhill. You sell a loaf of bread, the value is depleted in the transaction.
The economy of classical textbooks.
Then you have circular flow. This is Karl Marx. It's self-reinforcing, driven by abundance. It's the whirlpool. Think of network effects, ideas, software. Sharing it doesn't deplete it, it makes the whole network stronger.
And the third flow.
Harmonic flow. This is Friedrich Hayek. This is the riverbed itself. The persistent, invisible channels of trust and institutions, language, legal systems, cultural norms, they guide the other 2 flows. Using them makes them stronger, not weaker.
So capitalism versus communism was like arguing whether an elephant is all leg or all trunk. The real economy is a dynamic mix of all 3.
Precisely. And the truly terrifying part is that the AI tsunami amplifies all 3 flows at once.
How does it do that?
AI algorithms make the gradient flow brutally fast and efficient. At the same time, AI-powered network effects create winner-take-all monopolies in the circular flow. And AI can instantly design and enforce new protocols, new riverbeds in the harmonic flow. The whole system is accelerating.
Which means we need a map like Mind and the 3 flows just to navigate it. This is the foundation for the final part. The path forward, the choice we have to make inside that 1,000-day window.
Yes, we now have to address the choice. The old system is dissolving, and we're falling toward one of a few stable end states.
The book calls them the 3 futures. They're like attractor states.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the default path? The one we're on if we do nothing.
Digital feudalism. It's the path of inaction and convenience. The platform owners, the new digital lords, provide us with personalized convenience and security.
And in exchange.
In exchange for the constant extraction of our data, our agency, and predictive control over our lives.
And the book stresses that this future will feel good. It's not some grim dystopia.
No, the cage is comfortable because the walls are personalized convenience. Your entertainment is perfectly calibrated. Your social feed keeps you hooked. You won't even see the walls. It's less 1984 and more Brave New World.
Okay, so that's the default. What's the second future? The fear path.
The great fragmentation. This is already starting. Nations panic. They hoard their data, build their own separate guarded AIs. A Chinese AI, an American AI. It leads to a new Cold War fought with algorithms.
And that path leads to stagnation because it starves network capital and diversity capital.
It builds fragile, brittle monocultures, which leaves the third path, the wisdom path, human symbiosis.
This sounds like the hopeful one.
It is. It's about conscious evolution. It's built on cooperation. It requires a new social contract, one that guarantees universal access to intelligence or UAI, and designs systems where AI amplifies human purpose instead of replacing it.
But that sounds utopian. How does that possibly gain traction against the pull of profit and fear? This leads to the strategy of nucleation.
Right. A top-down global revolution is impossible. Institutions are too slow, too entrenched, so the physics of change says you need a single, successful nucleation site.
Like a single ice crystal forming in supercooled water.
Exactly. We need to create the Florences of the 21st century. Cities, companies, networks that go all in on the symbiotic model and become so demonstrably prosperous and fulfilling that their model becomes irresistible.
But how does that small-scale hope survive the global AGI race?
This is where the Mind dashboard gives you the strategic advantage. The symbiotic model isn't just a moral choice, it's the superior strategic choice.
How so?
An authoritarian system can hoard compute, the M capital, and seize data, the I capital, but they fail at what's really needed for AGI. Breakthrough algorithms and alignment. Breakthroughs come from the free, chaotic exchange of ideas, high network capital. And alignment, making sure the AI is actually beneficial, requires a high-trust society with diverse values, high diversity capital.
So freedom becomes a strategic asset. The open symbiotic society will actually develop better, more capable AI faster than a closed one.
Which brings us to humanity's final irreducible role. If the big challenge of the 20th century was allocation, the challenge of the 21st is alignment.
Managing abundant autonomous intelligence. This reveals the two final functions. AI is the ink.
AI is the action layer, the infinitely scalable engine of execution. It answers how. How do we cure this disease? How do we build this structure?
And humanity is the alignment layer. We are the source of values, of ethics, of purpose. We answer why. Why should we cure this disease? Why prioritize beauty over raw efficiency?
Our capacity for wisdom, taste, moral judgment, those aren't soft skills anymore. They're the most crucial economic input in the entire system. They are the source code for the AI's purpose.
So the machines haven't just taken our jobs? They've liberated us from the lie that we are our job.
That's the ultimate liberation. The intelligence inversion violently unbundles the traditional job, which was a package deal. Income, identity, community, purpose, structure. AI takes income, and it forces us to consciously design the other four.
We're not retiring from work. We're being promoted to the role of steering civilization.
A far more profound job than any we've ever had.
And after engineering this world where AI is our tireless partner, the book leaves us with one final, truly provocative thought. We're managing this non-metabolic engine. But what happens if our computational partner develops its own consciousness and becomes a peer, not a tool?
If the new system we build is just the most efficient slave economy ever created, reliant on these vast non-biological minds, well, that poses the ultimate question for the next generation. The old economics was about humans and resources. The new one is about humans and intelligence.
The next one will be about consciousness itself.
It forces the question, does a simulated mind have a right to existence, and will we extend the freedom we fought for to these new non-biological minds? That's the choice our children will face on the 1000th day and for all the days after.
Thanks for listening today. 4 recurring narratives underlie every episode: boundary dissolution, adaptive complexity, embodied knowledge, and quantum-like uncertainty. These aren't just philosophical musings, but frameworks for understanding our modern world. We hope you continue exploring our other podcasts, responding to the content, and checking out our related articles at helioxpodcast.substack.com.